Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Al Huda TV. Today we have a very interesting session for you on our topic of the Muslim most influential personalities. Today you're watching your most chosen and influential station, Guidance to Humanity. We have a very able visitor today, really humbled and happy to host our visitor today, Youssef. Welcome, Youssef.
Thank you so much.
Welcome to Kenya once more.
Welcome.
And welcome to South B.
Thank you
This
so
is
much.
Al Huda TV station.
Excellent.
We are happy to host you today. Alhamdulillah, we are happy we could have a few moments of your time. And so we snap this moment so we can share with the bigger population on really who Youssef is. We're going to have some moments for you to tell us what you feel we should know.
Inshallah.
And we are happy to dig deeper so we can have insights into the good work that you've been doing.
Inshallah.
So welcome once again. You can say hi to the viewers.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah al-Kareem. My name is Youssef Kromah. I'm very honored and pleasure to be here today with the Huda TV. I am no stranger to our beautiful brothers in Kenya and the amazing work that they're doing in this country. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless this gathering and to put barakah in all of the work that they're doing. And if you're watching, we ask for your continued support and that you always stay tuned and you spread the word, inshallah ta'ala.
Thank you, Youssef. And I'm your host, Jafar, from just within South Bay here. So Youssef, I would like to shoot the first question. What would you tell us? Who is Youssef?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I would like to say that I'm a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
MashaAllah.
First and foremost, that was the reason that we were created, is to be a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now how you serve Allah ta'ala differs.
Yeah.
Every person has their own special mission, their own special objective, their own divine calling, that if you don't answer that call, no one else will do it. So something that I love to do is begin by thanking and praying for my ancestors. So my name is Youssef. I'm named after my grandfather. His name was Youssef. Allah yarhamuhu. I never got to meet him, but it was said that even before I was born, he used to give sadaqah for me.
MashaAllah.
He used to feed people, he used to make dua for me, he used to pray tahajjud, asking that Allah Ta'ala put in his lineage someone that will carry the brand of Islam.
Ameen.
And that their name would be Youssef.
MashaAllah.
So I would like to say that I am the answered dua of my grandfather and my ancestors. So that's who I am. I was born and raised in Philadelphia, PA, in the US. My family is originally from Guinea. My father's from Guinea, my mother's from Liberia, from the Mandingo tribe.
All right.
But I grew up in Philadelphia, born and raised.
Okay.
And my mother was actually a Christian and converted later to Islam when I was in my early teens. And alhamdulillah, so I grew up in a household with a Muslim father, a Christian mother, and I learned the Bible. I went to Catholic school for many years of my life, later to Islamic school, madrasa, and then I went on to La Salle University, where I studied business development, leadership, and global understanding.
Okay.
And then from there I went to Al Azhar University, where I studied Islamic law.
MashaAllah. Allahumma barik. Interesting to note. So this is actually a privilege for us,
No, the honor to
the Muslim Ummah, to have you here with us, given that dua was already said for you even before you were born. This is really a privilege for us. And we're happy to welcome you any other time and to continue to hear your inspiring story and who you really are. And also good to note that you actually hail from Philadelphia.
Yes.
And there's a story about Liberia. There's, parts and parts that are coming together. So really, this is interesting and we're just excited to know more about who Youssef is, what Youssef can do, what do we learn from Youssef. So maybe you can tell us about Philadelphia and what would you say in summary about Philadelphia generally?
So Philadelphia, to a great extent, formulated and shaped who I am, my character. Philadelphia is known as the city of brotherly love.
MashaAllah.
That's what it's known for. Philadelphia translates to a city of love.
All right.
And it's true that it's a city of love.
Yeah.
We have about over 400,000 Muslims in Philadelphia, over 60 masajid. And it's one of the most outwardly Muslim cities you could ever be in. You know, when I first traveled outside of Philadelphia and I went to different places, and I saw Muslims hiding their Islam, it was strange to me. You know, it's nothing to go to the airport in Philadelphia and see a sister wearing niqab, wearing hijab. It's nothing to see people walking around in a thawb or jalabiya. It's nothing to see brothers wearing izars, stopping traffic to pray. That's the kind of city that Philadelphia was. So it was like, in and of itself, is known as like a Muslim city, a very outwardly Muslim city. So I carried that with me wherever I went. I had this pride about being Muslim. I was not the kind of person that would put my prayer rug in the corner and hide so nobody sees me. I'm gonna pray right where everybody Allah Akbar, you know. But it's a city that that raised us, and it was a city that actually was heavily influenced, firstly, by the Nation of Islam.
All right.
They really established the ground for Islam in Philadelphia, and by way of cleaning up the corners, removing the drug dealers, and cleaning up neighborhoods to the extent that you could go in the worst, most dangerous neighborhood in Philadelphia. As long as you were a Muslim, nobody would touch you. Nobody will harm you. They will give you leadway. Afterwards, you have the development where the Nation of Islam went to the Warathuddin Muhammad community, and then Islam began to take ground like this, and the different movements came and spread Islam. But you have imams and teachers that have been traveling to Yemen, to Saudi, different places since the 1940s, 50s, 60s. You have brothers that were seeking ilm in Egypt, going to different places. So a city that Islam was deeply grounded and planted for many years. But if anything that I can say about Philadelphia is that the love that it put in my heart to be Muslim and to be proud, you can feel that in Philadelphia. The Muslims have influence.
I can tell that from the way you paint the picture.
I
mean, good to know that you can comfortably pray anywhere, feel safe.
Absolutely.
I bet even Hushu is definitely there. I mean,
there's
no worry about anything.
For sure.
Interesting. So given that, I mean, there's that, story about Philadelphia and Islam. Would you say the same about generally the West, or you would have a different story about the West?
No. There's some places you go, you have to take your kufi off and tuck it inside. It's dangerous to be Muslim.
Really?
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. Especially in the South and southern countries, the Midwest, Islam is strange to them. But major cities in general in America, there's a deep presence of Islam, deep presence of Muslims. But in Philadelphia in particular, in the Nation of Islam before, Sunni Islam was introduced to the African American community to a greater extent. They used to pick the cities by numbers. So Philadelphia was 12, so they called Philadelphia top of the clock. So then, you had Chicago, you had LA. So most major cities in Islam, in America, Islam is established in those cities. But Philadelphia in particular stands out.
All right.
Yes, sir.
So what would you tell our viewers if they were to travel to America now that you talk about part of the West not being really welcoming to Islam as such? Or so to say, other than Philadelphia? Are there any other cities that you would want to tell people, I mean, hey, if you're traveling, this is one of the places you'd feel comfortable. You'd pray and feel happy about
any
it.
major city in America you can go, you'll find the Muslims there. You'll find safety there. In general, people respect the Muslims. In general, people respect the Muslims, and you'll feel safety there. Even if there may be some discontent, they may not be happy with the Muslims, but to act out against the Muslims or to harm a Muslim, they know there's consequences for that.
All right.
So they'll be very reluctant to hurt or harm a Muslim, except if they have some, some issues. But in general, you can go to any major city in Islam. In America was LA, Miami, Philadelphia, these major cities. You'll find strong Muslim communities there where you can go walk into the masjid and you'll feel at home, you'll feel safe.
What about the South? You mentioned the South.
The South is, the South, there's places in the South called the Bible Belt. They're Christian strongholds, Baptist countries.
The Bible Belt.
Islam is strange to them. I think a lot about the time people talk about like, oh, these are kuffar, these are non-Muslims. When really a kafir is someone who Islam came to them and they rejected the message. Most of these people, they have no conception of what Islam really is other than what they see on Fox News, on the different TV stations. So you really be able to consider them a kafir because they're not rejecting anything they don't know. So the idea is many of them until in 2024 have no conception of what it really means to be Muslim, what it really means to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Furthermore, who is Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? They have no conception, no reality of what that is. So up until today's day, the information they take about Islam is whatever they see on the news, and that's warped.
Yeah.
So for that reason, they have a discontentment, displeasure with Islam and Muslims with the depiction of what they see in Islam. It's something that's foreign to them. But America was built by actual enslaved Muslims. Many of them were Muslims.
Yeah.
So if they see the history, they owe a great deal of thanks to African Muslims that built the country.
Sure.
That Thomas Jefferson had his Quran. That the Constitution was built from.
Yeah.
So many of what you see in America, even the infrastructure, was mirrored what was in the Muslim world. The cap and gown that you see, and the graduations, it came from the turbans and the gowns that the jalabi that they were wearing in the Middle East.
All right.
So there's a lot of things that you see in America that we should pay tribute to.
So say it's just a matter of time.
That's a matter of time. It's coming, inshallah ta'ala.
All right. So, I mean, what would you paint for us a picture in terms of your educational background? I know we talked a bit of Islam, your travels, your folks, and the earlier days. So how about your educational background?
Yeah, so I started off my educational career. I wanted to be a diplomat. It's funny.
You are a diplomat.
Inshallah. The funny thing is, in like West African households, I'm not sure about how it was in Kenya.
Yeah.
But I know you can only be one of three things when you go to university.
Okay.
Either a doctor or an engineer. Well, you have three choices.
Okay.
So I started off my school, my education university, going for a law undergrad to be a lawyer.
So is that decided for you?
Yeah, your parents decided for you. That's why.
Okay.
African parents, they tell you what it is.
No, you don't know about the future. We know about the future.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I got to university and I decided, you know what? I don't want to be a lawyer.
All right.
I want to be a diplomat.
Whoa! After doing it all this time.
No, I started in after the first semester.
Okay.
So I called my father and I said, "Listen, Father, I would like to change my career track, my educational track." He said, "Listen, Youssef, if you change your career track, you're gonna pay for your own education. It's on you. You can do what I do, and I'll take care of it. But if you do what you want to do, you're responsible."
Your dad was Liberian or your mother?
My father's from Guinea.
Guinea.
Yeah, Guinea. So I said,
Muslim?
Muslim.
Right.
So I said, no problem. I'll pay for my university.
Really?
So I paid.
That was bold.
Yeah, I don't think he was expecting that. But I'm my father's son. We have the same type of mentality, the same,
the younger version of you.
Exactly. So whatever you see in me is a reflection of my father. So when I said that to him, he understood that if I say I'm going to put my mind to do something, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
So I paid my way through school, to university. I graduated. And I remember that when I moved to Egypt, because of the work that I was doing in my field, I was actually honored by the Obama administration. I was invited to come to the White House. But I was in Egypt already, so I couldn't come. So I asked my father and my mother to go represent me at the White House. And then my mother, called me from FaceTime so I can see the award ceremony. And my father accepted the award on my behalf. And he was saying that, I always knew my son was going to do great things. Ever since he was in university, I knew that.
I figured.
I was laughing.
Yeah.
So the thing is, it's good in life sometimes to always take the advice of our parents, to listen to their wisdom. But sometimes Allah puts something inside of you that you have to follow. And you have to stick to it. Because from that experience, from me choosing this background, it led me to have a lot of different opportunities to go across the world professionally and also still have my Islamic education as well. So it allows me to approach the deen and approach matters from a very academic, business-centric mindset, but also it's coupled with the Sharia as well. Okay. So this is a bit of my education.
So would you want to say about how you actually managed to pay your school fees when your dad said, if you choose to pursue something different, you'll have to figure it out yourself?
So I'll tell you, I had my first job at 5 years old.
5 what?
5 years old. I had my first job. They used to pay us in McDonald's. Burgers.
5 years old?
That's how we used to get paid. I used to lay carpet with my Uncle Joe.
All right.
Me and my
That's still in like Philly. You call it Philly.
Philly. Yeah. He used to pick us up after Fajr. We would lay carpets.
Okay.
So I always had an entrepreneurial spirit. I used to buy candy from the store in middle school and sell it to students.
Oh my
In the
God. 5 years old.
Yeah.
I'm trying to imagine where I was when I was 5 years old.
I was hustling.
What was I doing?
Yeah.
MashaAllah.
Opened my first business with my father at 14. We had an ice cream and wood ice parlor in a restaurant, a family business. At 16, my father said, I'm no longer going to give you money anymore. He said, whatever I give you is going to be a loan. You have to pay it back. So he took me to the car dealership.
Yeah.
He bought and gave me my first investment to buy my first car. And I began selling cars at 16. Okay. I would buy the cars in America. We had this thing where if you have a lot of tickets, the police will take your car and they'll auction and sell it. So we would buy those cars and I would sell them. Started from 16 all the way until I finished high school. So by the time I got to college, I was already an entrepreneur. I had it deep in my DNA. So
and your dad was well aware about all this?
Yeah, he was the one who trained me. I took my training from him.
I mean, did he figure your network by then?
Yeah, he was the one who supported the business, who helped me out.
So when he was saying, I always knew Youssef would do it, at the back of his mind, he was like, nah, I know you.
Exactly. Sometimes it's a challenge, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, because our parents traditionally, the ones that come from different countries, like the first generation Americans, they have this mentality that these are the only three professions, doctor, lawyers, and engineers.
Yeah, engineer.
But the reality of the matter is that there are a plethora of different professional outlets that you can work in that you would triple X what doctors are making with less the effort.
Sure.
You know, if you work in marketing, digital marketing, you work in media, you work in real estate development, you will make what doctors make maybe in a month or two.
Absolutely.
But the mentality is that this is the most stable position to work
Everybody
in.
has to be an engineer.
Yeah, everybody has to.
At some point.
The reality is entrepreneurship is the best field to me. Even spiritually, there's a level of tawakkul that you have in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when you know there's nowhere you can go to get your paycheck. It really taught me a lot about trusting in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And also you want to behave yourself too. Because you know, you want to have not mess your barakah.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's a salat al-tarbiyah. And the Prophet ﷺ said that the izzah of the Muslim is in being independent of people. Now, there's nothing wrong with working and having a job. I'm all for it. But what I'm saying is that there's also special barakah in buying and selling and trading and dealing with people, ma'amalat and things like that. It gives you a certain type of spiritual training as well.
And the discipline. I know, it comes with it, right?
Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, you know, I know people probably get an opportunity to watch this and they'll be wondering, at 5 years old?
5 years old.
This is what people are already doing, and some of us are waiting until we're 30,
the thing about
35.
This, I got it from my father. Wallahi, I'm 33 now. My whole life, I could probably count on my hands the amount of time I saw my father sitting at home relaxing. Up now, and as retirement.
Really?
Yeah, I've just now started seeing my father.
Never sitting down.
Ever.
And even the relaxing is on a
ever. I never saw. My father worked and worked. He was a full-time electrical engineer for SEPTA, for the railroad system. But he also ran his own businesses. So on the weekend, when other, people my age were playing, we were renovating houses, doing tiling, plumbing, sheetrocking, roofing. That's what we did on the weekends.
So it's all about the working.
It's all about working. But his father, my grandfather Youssef, was also a farmer. So he instilled this work ethic inside my father as well.
Yeah. And do you think, I mean, since you're, in the developed world, do you think the same would benefit someone from this end? So to say, at times there are people who go to work and there's nothing really that comes out of it, or probably the wages are too little for them to do anything.
Sure.
Do you feel like, because in the developed world, there are policies, legislation, and laws, those who are covering you, such that even in your younger ages, you'd still make something out of it?
Yeah. Even in the undeveloped world, you still find people that there's a stark difference. Of course, there's a massive poverty, there's a massive gap, there's no middle class.
Yeah, for sure.
But even in the undeveloped world, there are people that are doing very well in entrepreneurship. So the idea is, develop or undeveloped, the key to entrepreneurship is to be a problem solver. If there's a problem that people have and you solve that problem, you are always going to be wealthy.
Sure.
So,
and the firm belief in Allah, like you put it,
I mean, you
shouldn't doubt it whatsoever.
And also, if you really my business model is steeped in the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. You know, he said that the barakah of this ummah is in the early hours of the morning. So the people I know that are very wealthy, doing well, they start their day from Fajr, or even from Tahajjud. Tahajjud, they pray Fajr, they don't go back to sleep. They may be at Dhuhr time, they take a nap and that's it, but their day starts at 4 a.m. in the morning and they continue on. So there's a great deal of entrepreneurship that you can learn from the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ.
So, well, I mean, I bet at some point this younger generation will be wondering, so from Fajr, no more sleep?
No.
I mean, this whole lazy thing and going back to bed should not work. Really, so there's a lot of barakah in, you know, doing things in the early morning.
It's between the hours of Tahajjud and Fajr and Subh. Those hours are blessed hours. So if you're sleeping after Fajr, you're losing a great deal. When my teacher, Imam Fodeh, we did a retreat one time, and you know, at nighttime, at Fajr, he came and he was very upset because all the students, you know, we were sleeping, and we were tired. So he woke up at Fajr time and he's like, nobody was up for Tahajjud. He said, don't you want the rizq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? He said, don't you know there's like a train, a caravan that's coming through at these hours. Whatever you want, whatever you're looking for in life is on that caravan. If you sleep, you will miss the caravan completely. So he said, do you not have a need? Because he said, I have a need. Because everyone else does have a need.
That's why I'm not sleeping.
Exactly. The sleeping person is the one who all their needs are taken care of. If you have a haja, need, sleep is not your friend.
And we always have the need.
Exactly.
I mean, we're humans.
That's the need.
The need should always be there.
So he says, Allah Ta'ala sends a caravan, literally a caravan that comes, and whatever you need is on that caravan you can take with you.
Thank you for, you know, confirming again. I mean, these are things that we're told repeatedly. But at times, probably, you know, we just ignore and we go back to bed and we go back to bed. But it's good to hear, you know, even from the Sunnah. The Prophet Muhammad.
Like the night time is really not for sleeping. Illa qaleel. You just take what you need. The grave is when you rest, inshallah.
Inshallah.
If you did well. If you didn't, then it's another story. May Allah protect us from that.
Ameen.
But this life is...
All right. Good to know. I mean, interesting insights there for us and, you know, probably the viewers and many of us to learn, you know, especially from you, traveling all this way and coming to share this with us. I think we are really humbled that you can share such information with us. Let's talk a bit more about what you want to share as your achievements. I know there are a whole lot of achievements for you. If you started at 5, one of them I can already tell. If you're already hustling at 5, that's already an achievement. Not many of us have hustled from 5. I mean, I don't mean to share my story today, but looking at what you're able to share, that's really encouraging. You know, it's empowering to know that people can start as early as that age. So what would be some of the achievements you'd want us to be aware of?
If I can be completely honest with you, I've seen millions of dollars come through my hands in my life. I've sat with the biggest of politicians, with the influencers, with celebrities, traveled to over 40 countries. My biggest accomplishment is to be able to read and understand the Quran. I'm not lying to you. Like, this is heart to heart. There was a moment in my life where Allah Ta'ala opened my understanding of the Quran, where when I hear it, I can understand what I'm reciting. There's nothing greater for me than that in my life. Wallah. Nothing.
That is so touching.
I'm telling the truth.
And overwhelming at the same point.
To be honest, I'm forever grateful to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala to be able, not even, and I'm not a mufassir, I'm not a sheikh or alim or anything, but just a regular kid from Philadelphia, from the hood, by the way, you know, to be taken into Egypt to learn, and then for Allah to open the Quran up for me. If nothing else happened to me in my life, I would be satisfied. And then the second thing is to put me in touch with people that love the Prophet ﷺ. It really changed my life. You know, growing up, even though I grew up in a Muslim family, a Muslim environment, like as a Muslim, like I said, I have a huge majority Muslim city. I never loved the Prophet ﷺ. I never had a love for the Prophet ﷺ. In fact, I remember we would be kids and they would tell us, you know, we're playing outside the masjid and they would say, don't don't you hear they're talking about Mustafa? You should be more like Mustafa. And we're like, who's Mustafa? You know? Or people tell us you should be like the Prophet ﷺ, but we never saw nobody that was like the Prophet ﷺ. You know, all due respect to our leaders and our teachers and our preachers, but they themselves were not like the Prophet ﷺ. You could look at them and you didn't see the Prophet ﷺ in their character and the way they treated us and their behavior. They weren't. So how can you tell us to be something that we can't see? That we can't even, not even close. So it took me all the way up into my 20s where I finally began to learn what it's like to love the Prophet ﷺ. Changed my life completely. I remember there was a time where my father had a tasbih and I took it and I broke it. Because I thought this was the sunnah. No,
you broke it.
Yeah, so we would see people doing dhikr, people in love with the Prophet ﷺ, and it would be strange to us. In fact, we would be angry with them. Yeah, one of my friends, our closest friends, Amir Suleiman, is a poet deeply in love with the Prophet ﷺ. He spent over 10 years writing a poem for the Prophet ﷺ. He's been a lover for as long as I've known him. I used to think he was weird. Why are you talking about the Prophet ﷺ so much? Like,
it's too much.
And he said, whoever says that we're extreme in love with the Prophet ﷺ, we're even more extreme than they know.
So that was you.
Yeah. So now, when I fell into gatherings where people love the Prophet ﷺ, when I met men that embodied the Quranic characteristic of the subhanallah, changed my life. So I thought that ilm, that knowledge, is what transforms character, but it doesn't. Knowledge can make you even worse. You know, but when it comes to mahabba, when it comes to love, transformative.
MashaAllah.
Transformative.
Allahumma barik.
Yeah. So those two things, those are the highlights of my life.
Interesting. Good to know. I mean, and we can only pray that, you know, Allah enriches you to even greater levels, and so we can learn from you, many of us. So, you know, we follow the same path. But yeah, I mean, any, you know, worldly, if you allow me to paint it that way.
Sure.
So any worldly achievements that people can probably learn from, people can get encouraged from what you have managed to do. There's probably quite a lot that you've done. Probably care to share a few experiences?
Yeah, sure. One of my first experiences was actually I started my whole career in poetry. This is how I began to gain notoriety in Philadelphia. I finished #1 in the entire tri-state area, Philadelphia, Delaware, and New Jersey. And I was featured on HBO, it's Breaking Voices. And then from there I did CNN, Who's Black in America, and I began to tour all across the country. So I've spoken in almost every Ivy League university in America, Harvard, Yale, Princeton. I published about 6 or 7 books.
MashaAllah.
You know, alhamdulillah.
6 or 7?
Yeah, I said about 6 or
quite
7
a number.
books. My need, inshallah ta'ala, is before I leave this place, I want to publish 100 books.
May Allah grant it.
And leave that as sadaqah jariyah from my own children, grandchildren, those that will come after me.
Let the world read.
Yeah, exactly. That's my need, inshallah ta'ala. I intend to start my PhD soon. So yeah, we've, right now, I'm working on a really big project with a team in Philadelphia. It's called Africa Town Project. It's going to be the first major establishment of an Africa Town in America. So everywhere you go in major cities, all across the world, you have Chinatowns. But it was Africans, enslaved Africans, that built America. So how can you have a Chinatown before you have Africa Town?
You need to have an African town before you have a Chinatown.
So we're building the first Africa Town. We closed the deal on Ramadan. We break ground on the 5th of May, inshallah ta'ala. So it's going to be community center, business center, technology center, banking, all based upon African Islamic principles and traditions.
Allah make it easy for you.
It's
It's a good job you're doing out there. It's probably an achievement already.
Yeah.
I believe getting to that point was not as easy.
No, alhamdulillah, it is those people that came before me. I have an uncle, Mr. Jabata, that worked in the industry for 25 years. He worked. You know, so when I came, I was able to stand on his shoulders.
All right.
You know, and they said, "Oh, look, Youssef is doing a great job." Really, I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. So it makes me look taller than I am. You know, it's really those that came before me that really put the work in.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, really interesting that you already published 6 to 7 books, and I believe that many of us can really gain from that. Because I was going to ask about how the general public, how they gain from your knowledge.
Yeah.
And I think you put it out there. I mean, very right. You have, other than books, have you done interviews, documentaries? You have links. How do people get to find you online? I mean, this generation is interesting.
Of course.
So, and we need them to reach out to you more and more on all the options that are there. So other than the books, are there, preferred names that we can find you on internet,
Definitely.
YouTube videos and whatnot?
I'm mostly active on Instagram. And this is my name, Youssef Kromah, Youssef .Kromah. But now I'm going to transition, inshallah ta'ala, to YouTube. And even maybe dabble with some TikTok and these different things. Really, we want to spread light on every platform.
Sure.
But thanks to our teacher, Sheikh Jamil, we're going to start doing more work that brings people to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They said the reminder benefits the believer.
Yeah.
And I met a young person that told me, brother Youssef, I really want to be famous. I just want to be famous. And I said, why? What is your why?
Yeah.
And he just sat and looked at me. I said, I won't help you be famous if you don't know your why. And even for me, as a person that's worked in the industry for a long time in media, it's very easy to get lost. In fact, the Sahaba would think it was crazy for a person that was hoping to be an influencer, hoping to have, it was something that was abnormal.
Yeah.
In fact, the teachers of Tazkiyah, they say you should really stay away from the public. You should not want to. It's one of the last, it said the hardest nuts to break is a desire for publicity. But now, our day and age, it's normal to want to have followers, to go viral. So it's a strange time that we live in. But if Allah Ta'ala gives it to you, then surely you're responsible for each and every follower, each and every post that you make. You're questioned for it. It's a big amana. Imagine 10 million people visiting your page. You don't know what they're taking from your page. So if you're promoting foolishness, that's 10 million sins that you're taking
on you.
But the opposite could be true. If you're talking about the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, you're talking about Allah is bringing people to, whoa, that's 10 million.
You're reaching millions and millions of people. And they're probably reaching out to more than the 10 million.
And the thing I love about social media, you never know who your message is impacting. There's one word of benefit can literally save somebody's life. There was a young man who I met years ago. He was actually on his way to commit suicide. On his way to commit suicide, he was carrying his books. And these football players threw a football at his books and it fell all in the mud. So I went and helped him pick his books up, walked him home. Years later, he messaged me on Instagram. He said, you don't remember me, I remember who you are. I said, I'm sorry, forgive me, who are you? He said, do you remember the young guy that you helped pick his books up? I said, oh yeah, I remember you. He said, I was on the way home to commit suicide. I had carried all my books because I didn't want my mother to have to go to my school and collect my books. He said, but because of the way that you dealt with me, the way you spoke to me, I decided not to kill myself.
Just that.
And now I'm Muslim.
Allahu Akbar.
That's why the deen,
Allahu.
I'm not big on surrounding myself with religious people, if I'm honest with you. I like people that have good character, because character makes a big difference. You could be religious and not necessarily a good person. You don't treat people good. You pray daily salawat, give sadaqah, mashallah. But your character, the way you deal with people, that's where the essence, the sweetness of the deen is. You don't have to know Bukhari, no Muslim, be Hafiz Quran. Just treat people nicely. And it makes a world of difference.
What message do you leave?
That's it.
What do they learn
That's
from
it.
you?
People don't care what you say to them, but they will never forget how you treat them. So on social media, I just try to be latif, gentle, good reminder, encourage people. But now my intention, I'm going to make more of an effort to trying to connect people to the Prophet.
Inshallah.
That's the niyyah, inshallah ta'ala.
Interesting. Quite overwhelming, Brother Youssef. I mean, these are stories and stories. I'm sure would want to hear even more. Without a doubt, there's no way you'd sit here for a few minutes and tell us your whole story. But at least you're giving us pointers and pointers to, stories that you feel are really impactful and things you'd want to talk about as your achievements. And, just listening in to, very basic, I would want to call it basic, although not basic, just a simple demonstration of what you did to a young man who was on his way, you know, to commit suicide, and now a Muslim. SubhanAllah.
Yeah, Sajid.
It's interesting.
But even me, to be honest, if you were to see me, maybe at 14, 15 years old, you would never think I'll be the Youssef sitting here today. Most of my friends that I grew up with are either dead or in jail. Most of them. So if you were to see this little kid, man, he's nothing. He's not going to be anything. The thing about Allah Ta'ala knows the reality of people. So you just never know. So the little kid on the corner begging, asking for something, you don't know what Allah Ta'ala has in plan for him. So you should never overlook anyone. For me, I had a dark background. You know, I wasn't always. You know why I started becoming serious about Islam? I thought I was gonna die soon. I really thought I was gonna die.
You didn't know you had all this work, all this great work that you're doing.
Yeah. Most of the people my age, they died around 18, 19. And we had very close incidents where we came very close to death.
Yeah. At what age did you become Muslim?
I was Muslim my whole life.
You're Muslim your whole life. But there was bits and bits, if I heard you right, about Christianity.
The idea is this: that each and every one of us at a certain point in our life, we have to choose Islam for ourselves. You know, even your parents are Muslim, but that doesn't necessarily make you Muslim. So the issue is that in many Muslim countries and Muslim cultures, people just inherit Islam and they never choose it for themselves. So Imam Ghazali, they said that he went through a spiritual crisis where he said that I looked at all the children of Christians and they were Christians. I looked at all the children of Jews and they were Jews. And I began to ask myself, why am I Muslim? So for me, that turning point was when I was about 15, 16 years old. I became like, I'm choosing Islam for myself.
MashaAllah.
And it was because I thought that death was very close to me.
So your experiences and you know, most of your teens losing their lives at 19 and 20.
Sure. So I said, if I'm going to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala soon, at least let me...
It has to be in the right way.
At least let me just try to get myself together a little bit. So it wasn't I was like, I wanted to be righteous. I was like, I just wanted to go in that grave and I'm not halfway decent at least.
All right. I mean, good to note. Interesting, and I know there are many people out there who are probably battling this whole thing.
That's the reality.
Trying to understand where do we go from here? How do we start? You know, Allah plans everything, regardless of how you want to look at it, whatever decisions you want to make. But I believe that when your time is right, your time is right.
It's true.
I myself am a case in point. Wasn't born, I practiced Christianity for the longest time in my life, until recently, not so long ago.
You see that?
And you know, alhamdulillah, Allah guided me to the right path. And I always say every day, if there's anything that could be taken away from me, is every other thing other than Islam.
I'm telling you, you can't take this.
Because I feel like there's no way I can do without it. Alhamdulillah. So, you know, this is very touching because I get to sit next to somebody I can relate with. You know, somebody speaking a language I'm very familiar with. And many of the other people out there probably listening would be in the same position. So yeah, again, very interesting to hear that. Maybe we turn on to another page. I am somewhere I tend to believe with this level of organization and being able to commit and move around and do a couple other things, you probably have an organization you're working with. Is there something you'd want us to know about this organization? Are you doing anything in Kenya? Should Kenya be expecting anything from this kind of organization?
I think what I'd like to say to the citizens of particularly of Africa in general, but Kenya in particular, that we as a people need to stand up and start to take care of our own. Meaning that a lot of the time we become reliant on resources from outside countries. Even myself, even though I'm African, Africa, but coming from abroad and extending aid to people, it keeps them in a state of always expecting aid. When really all the resources that we need are present in Africa. The wealth that needs to rebuild Africa is present. So the moment that we begin to break this mentality of relying on foreign aid, that comes with foreign policy, that comes with foreign interests, that comes with really taking the resources, it's going to be a dynamic change. Because now they're coming into these countries and say, here's $150 billion in aid, but now you're going to take our morals and our ethics.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure.
So there's no organization, if I'm honest, that I will support and say, everybody come and expect this from this. No.
Okay.
It should. We're responsible, especially as Muslims.
Yeah.
If every Muslim paid us a cat in the Muslim world,
Would be right.
then we wouldn't need anyone else to help.
Mm.
So that's my belief. I do work with many organizations
Sure.
and trying to do khair, but I believe that it should come from within. That there's something to be said about going back to your neighborhood that you grew up in,
Yeah.
and then assisting them. As opposed to some stranger that doesn't look like you, doesn't speak your language, doesn't have your culture. It creates an inferiority complex.
Yeah.
But Jafar, I know Jafar. I used to play football with Jafar. I used to eat Jafar's home.
Yeah.
I see Jafar now. He's giving stuff like Jafar now. He's building an institution. I want to do that too. It's a reality.
MashaAllah.
But when people come in from different states and places and they're building, it's a foreign concept.
Okay.
You know, so I'm in support of institutions coming,
Yeah.
building infrastructure, and then leaving. But not to come and I'm going to stay here 40, 50, 60 years, and I'm going to raise $1 billion, but only 1% of that sees the people. It's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, that's interesting. Quite a strong message there.
It's the
We
reality.
should stop looking outside. We have it inside.
It comes from within.
There's no point of staying
Yeah,
outside.
it's of the person is to be independent of people.
Yeah.
So if you're relying on foreign entities to support you, you know, when our Imam, he said that whatever people that don't make their own clothing,
Yeah.
that don't grow their own food, and don't have their own scholars, they will forever be slaves.
They'll always wait for the
They
outside.
will always be slaves to someone or something else.
Yeah.
If you don't grow your own food, you can't feed your own self and your people, your country. You don't make your own clothing, and you don't take knowledge from your own people, you're going to be a slave.
Oh, interesting.
To other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yeah. Well, knowledge.
Yeah.
I mean, time is really not on our side.
That's right.
I know you have to travel.
That's right.
We wish we could hear some more from
Yeah.
you. Really humble that you could take a few minutes of your time and, you know, share the mark that you could share with us. This is a privilege. Happy to meet you. Happy to hear from you. Happy to learn from you. And hopefully to continue to know even better, specifically coming from what you put across. Maybe as we finalize, what would be your message to the youth out there? Because, I mean, this is our future generation. Is there anything you would like to say to them? Word of encouragement, maybe? Which direction should they look?
Yeah, definitely. If I could leave a message
Yeah.
with the youth, I would say this. My friend, poet Bashir Jones, he says, when you're climbing to the top, all you hear are crickets. All you hear are critics.
Critics, yeah.
But when you make it there, all you hear are crickets. Some folks won't like your decisions, but eagles aren't meant to fly with the pigeons. So the idea is, as a young person growing up, there's going to be so many naysayers,
Yeah.
so many people that have opinions, so many people that have advice or tell you what to do, what you should do, what you shouldn't do. The first thing is that you should believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That you should follow the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam as your example, and you should have a conviction in yourself. Follow, you know, they said that the best mufti is the heart. So there's something that Allah Ta'ala put in each and every one of us as young people. And some people, even their good intention, they want to shape and form you in other than what Allah Ta'ala planned for you to be. So take advice from people that have already gone where they're advising you to. If you haven't done what I want to do, you haven't been where I want to go, you can't advise me on what I want to do.
For sure.
Some people say, oh, you can't go to that place. Have you been to that place? No, I've never been there.
So how come you're telling me I can't be to that place?
So people always have something to say.
Yeah.
So the idea is worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from a very young age. Don't wait until you get old, have gray beard, and then now I'm going to start worshiping Allah. The best time to worship Allah is when you're young. Really take advantage. I saw some young kids today from the madrasa, they were reciting. I wish that I could be in it. I would give everything that I have
MashaAllah.
to go back and just be young and really hold the deen even firmer. So begin worshiping Allah really young. The second thing is to love the Prophet ﷺ, study him, learn him, watch how he walks, how he thinks, everything about him. That's no celebrities.
Yeah.
That's my celebrity. That's my hero.
Yeah.
1.6 billion followers, no Instagram, no TikTok. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's the person that should be followed.
Sure.
The other thing I say is, drink water, mind your business.
All right.
The Prophet said, from a perfection of a person's character, mind your business, in other words, and get money.
All right.
Get halal money, get halal income.
Halal money.
Yeah,
I
Islam
like
is not a poor people's religion.
It's for the
It's
rich.
for the rich. The Prophet ﷺ said the hand that gives is better than the hand that receives.
Yeah.
So I don't know, sometimes we get this mentality that to be Muslim
you need to
means
stretch.
No.
You need to give.
Yeah.
The more you give,
the
more you get.
اللهم اجعل نقود في أيدينا ولا في قلوبنا. Oh Allah, put wealth in our hands and not in our hearts.
Yeah.
So Islam is not a poor man's religion. Islam needs people, entrepreneurs, these businessmen, these wealthy people, so we can build this deen. So whatever you put your mind to, be very disciplined, take it very seriously.
Sure.
Saddidu wa qarribu, the Prophet ﷺ said.
Sure.
When you have a mission, you take aim of it, and every day you get closer and closer and closer. Our teacher, Sheikh Jamil, said something very beautiful. He said that when the Prophet ﷺ was going on the Isra wa Mi'raj, that Allah said about him that he didn't turn his vision anywhere.
Focused.
Just focus. And there's a lesson in that.
That was the journey.
That's the journey. Like, imagine what he could have saw in heaven. Like, what if he looked to the right?
Yeah.
If it were me and you, Jonathan, what's going on?
What's going on? I need to know everything so I can tell Brother Youssef when I come back.
Let me take a picture. But he's straight. That's how we should be.
Inshallah.
And this dunya, we know what our goal is, our objective is.
Yeah.
Not to look left, not to look right.
But to focus.
To focus on the mission, inshallah ta'ala.
All right.
Yeah,
Brother Youssef,
barakallah.
thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
It was nice to have you here.
It's an honor.
Hopefully to have you another time.
Inshallah ta'ala.
Feel welcome and free in this country.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You're welcome to come back again.
Barakallah.
May Allah bless you
Ameen.
and make it easy for you and all your journey. Shukran, Brother Youssef.